Hey everyone, it's been quite a while since we've done this. Summer of 24 was a fever dream to say the least. Last I seen you guys, or rather you've seen of me, was on my first plant import video, which ironically enough was filmed during a heat wave. Um, Today I'm filming this just a week after the coldest week we've had here in Athens. So it really has been a while. So let's catch up. Here in Athens, our summers are hot and dry, averaging at about 32 degrees Celsius or 90 degrees Fahrenheit, and humidity at around 30 degrees relative humidity, which is very dry. Now, these conditions were very bad for my plants, causing malformed growth and, worst of all, plant infestations. Spider mites. I think you guys know the pain of having to deal with them. I had the worst infestation of spider mites I have ever had. And granted, I have not been keeping plants for too long. It's only been like 2 years or so. It's my second summer with a house full of plants. So I was a bit taken aback, a bit overwhelmed by this. As with most infestations, you don't realize you have one until it has progressed to a level of severity where you start seeing damage on your plants, or worse, you just start out of nowhere, you start seeing your plant deteriorating when it was just fine a few days ago. But yeah, I was just so demotivated. I was overwhelmed. I was exhausted. So, for better or for worse, it seems that these pests have specific plant favorites. I still don't fully understand why they target plants in the way that they do. But I think many of you will tend to agree that these pests, especially spider mites, really like the velvety type plants like philodendrons, for example, because that is the group of plants that really got the brunt of this spider mite attack. My absolute favorite philodendron verrucosum, which was doing so well back in spring of last year, and I was so excited for it because it was going to be, the growing season. It's going to do great. What a plot twist. I guess not really a twist, kind of expected. I guess a seasoned plant grower would have that as, one of the more possible outcomes. But me, being green as a plant keeper, a plant enthusiast, I did not quite expect this. So yeah, my philodendron verrucosum got ravaged, and it was something I did not realize until you start seeing that the leaves were just starting to look ugly, getting all these like whiteness to it. I did successfully treat it after a few treatment rounds, but the plant did try to recover. It put out a few growth points, but for some reason, it aborted the growth points, and then it shot out new growth points again, and then it aborted them once again. And I think this was, I don't know for sure, but my suspicion was that it was because of how hot and dry the conditions were inside my house. So the plant could not really recover. And the fact that it has now just started to recover, like back in December during winter, because here in Greece, winters are actually pretty humid, averaging at about 60 to 70 degrees relative humidity, which is pretty high and probably not that good. But this is the period where I started seeing my plants start to recover, the verrucosum in particular. I now have several successful leaves. Unfortunately, again, I recently found that there were spider mites. So that's kind of upsetting, but At least now I am much more vigilant at keeping watch, being on the lookout, inspecting my plants much more frequently, and treating them as soon as I spot the infestation. The good news is it is now starting to recover, but my oh my, the damage that it has gone through. Another one is my philodendron melanochrysum. This one was primarily affected by the hot temperatures, like the leaves, hot temperatures and low humidity, because the new leaves that would come out would always be kind of like stunted, it would be malformed, and it would just have trouble coming out of its sheath. This is what has finally convinced me that I should just invest in a humidifier. Trust me, when I say we are not going back, we are not going back to summer of 24. I think for me, in my particular case, I definitely need a humidifier because otherwise, these velvety philodendrons that I have are just not gonna do well during the summer. And it's like summers here are gonna get humid out of nowhere. So it's something that I have to invest if I want to keep these plants, and I really do want to keep them. Um, but yeah, it also got attacked by spider mites. Again, also in winter, did it finally have a nice, successful leaf? Oh, and you might be asking, how did I get growth over the winter? Well, I started using grow lights, which is kind of a funny twist for me because grow lights were kind of something that I was resistant to, and I just finally decided I'm just gonna get one. I tried one. I'm using a Sansi grow lights, and it's actually fantastic. I've had quite a few nice growth on my plants even during the winter. So yeah, I'm a convert, and I'm not going back. Like grow lights, I feel like is a solution to a number of problems, at least for me. We'll talk more in depth about that in another video. For now, let's just talk about the plants that got destroyed. Speaking of destroyed, my philodendron gigas, same story as my varicosum and my melanochrysum. I find that my gigas though is a little bit more sensitive. Like I have not had a really nice successful leaf from it even now that I'm using grow lights, and it's the winter where the humidity is higher. It has not really kind of like recovered or has gone on the up and up like my melanochrysum has. So yeah, that one I'm a little bit worried about. Another philodendron is my El Choco Red, which this one I got towards the end of summer. So, and this one that I received was such a beautiful specimen. I'm not sure if I took a photo of it or if I have footage of it, but it was so beautiful, and it had like big leaves. They weren't huge, but they were nice, sizable leaves, especially since I was expecting more of a juvenile plant. And yeah, unfortunately, the spider mites got to it, and yeah, it just destroyed the beautiful leaves that it had. This one has started to put out new leaves for me as well, but I don't know, they're not looking as beautiful as the ones that it had when I received it. So a little bit scared for it. Anthuriums. My Anthurium clarinervium, which is my first Anthurium that I bought, is it has been non-fussy whatsoever. Had not given me any problems ever since I got it, but this one got attacked by spider mites. For some reason, the spider mites in my home developed an appetite for it. So yeah, unfortunately, that one suffered a lot of leaf damage as well. So I had just chopped a lot of the ones that were badly affected. my Anthurium silver blush, which I got as a baby plant. I managed to get it to grow a bit, but then this one, it wasn't the spider mites, but it was more of hot and uh, the hot temperatures and the low humidity that really did it to this plant. And right now it's just a stump. Like, it's been a stump for months. It dropped all of its leaves, I think, around maybe mid fall, and if not early fall. And I just kept it because I noticed that the roots were still looking pretty healthy. They were not rotting, they were not deteriorating. So I thought that, okay, there's still life to this plant. And I think I see that there is a growth that is coming out. I think it's going to be a new leaf coming out soon. So I really, really hope that it is. And wouldn't it be wonderful if I got it growing back after it going into just a stump? So fingers crossed for that one. Now, alocasias. I know most of you probably already know that alocasias are notorious for being a spider mite magnet. And my alocasia stingray is just such a testament to that, because it was just chronically infested with spider mites. Like, no matter what I do, they just keep coming back. And yeah, unfortunately, I lost my alocasia stingray. It's just a stump now, and I think it's dead. It's dead because the roots have started to dry. They are all turning brown. So I think it's dead. And you know what? That's fine. I enjoyed the stingray as much as I could. I loved that plant, but I am not getting a stingray again, even though it's such a beautiful plant. Well, I don't want to say never, but definitely not anytime soon, and not for the foreseeable future. My alocasia Jacqueline. What happened was it got ravaged by spider mites, and I did not notice until it was so late. Because I had it right by the window, facing the window. And since I was not really looking at the plant whenever I'd like water it or something, so I didn't notice that it was being infested by spider mites, which, looking back now, was such a dumb thing to do, knowing that spider mites love alocasias. So when I noticed it, it was covered in cobwebs, and immediately I knew that it was spider mites. And unfortunately, it had damaged a lot of the leaves that it had on. Right now, it has one leaf. Welcome to the one leaf club, as they say, when it comes to allocations. But this one is holding on. So I'm pretty confident that it's gonna bounce back this summer. It's looking a little bit thick down there, so I think it's getting ready to put out a new leaf soon. But yeah, I'm just gonna have to be vigilant and watching over it. Yeah, I have to watch out for the spider mites because, yeah, they also tend to love the new leaves. And apart from that, I have two other alocasias, my Cupria Red Secret and my Heterophylla Dragon's Breath, which, interestingly enough, I find that they are a bit more resistant to spider mites. Though they have had spider mites, I find that spider mites do not reoccur as often as they did on my Stingray and Jacqueline. So that's fantastic. And also, whenever I would find spider mites on them, because spider mites are so tiny, it's really hard to see them. Like, you won't really see them unless you're looking for them. At least for those two allocations, the damage was not severe. The infestation was not severe, thank God. Another group of plants that got affected this summer are my carnivorous plants, specifically my pinguicula, which I love. I'm starting to notice that a lot of the plants that I love were really affected this summer. Can't help but feel like it was a coordinated attack by these pesky pests. Anyways, yeah, my pinguicula, I don't know, this one was not attacked by pests though. At least not that I saw. It started getting these yellow spots, which I'm not sure what it was. My suspicion is um sun damage, but it I don't know, it just didn't make sense to me, but it's the only reasonable explanation that I can arrive at. So it started getting these yellow spots, and the plant was just starting to deteriorate, and I just couldn't figure out why. So I actually tried to save the plant by propagating it. I actually took 2 leaf cuttings. I just took 2. I should have taken more, but I was kind of suspicious or doubtful that it would work because I only found it online. They said just take leaf cuttings and it should grow a new plant from that. And it actually worked. I have the two leaves that I took have successfully propagated. It's not their season right now, so they're not really growing like crazy. They remain small. And I also saved 2 pups from the main plant. The main plant is now dead and gone. It just dried up. Now, I lost a bunch of ferns, and I love ferns. Again, they just targeted the plants that I love a lot. And yeah, I had 2 bird's nest fern. One was medium sized and one was like a baby plant. They both did not make it through summer. I guess I must have missed the watering or something, and they just did not recover then. My rabbit's foot fern, which one day I just started seeing this like dust looking specks, like a lot of them just under the pot, like under the canopy of the fronds. I didn't think much of it back then at that time because I had it like close to the floor. It was just sitting on this like small stool. So I thought, dust and debris, tend to settle down where near the floor is, right? So I cleaned it up, no biggie. And then after several days, again, I saw the same specks of dust. And that is when I started being suspicious of it because why is it that specific speck of dust always underneath the rabbit's foot fern and nowhere else in the house? So I took a peek beneath the fronds, the canopy, and therein was, oh, just thinking about it gives me the creeps because it was a massive infestation of black aphids. I didn't even know that these creatures existed. Okay. I had to go check the internet to see what the hell are these black things. And upon Googling it, one of the telltale signs of black aphids are that speck of dust underneath the plant, and that it's not actually dust, it's their exoskeleton that they've shed off. Anyways, it was a colony of probably millions in that underneath that canopy of rabbit's foot fern. I guess for them it was like a jungle. It was the best environment they've been in. The rabbit's foot fern was not exhibiting any kind of stress. It had no yellowing leaves. It was not dropping leaves. Nothing. Like, it looked like it was living its life. And if it weren't for the specks of dust underneath, I wouldn't have known that it was even infected. Apparently, black aphids tend to like ferns. When I discovered that my rabbit's foot fern had, I saw that some of my other ferns had a few of them. My bird's nest fern had a few black aphids as well. My Boston fern, oh my god, not my Boston fern, because I love my Boston ferns. Thankfully, all I did was just wash them off with water, just hose it uh, nicely, not too strong because the fronds are delicate, but just strong enough to make sure debris and stuff get washed away. And that seemed to do the trick, because after that my Boston fern had zero black aphids, my bird's nest fern had zero black aphids. But yeah, my bird's nest fern died not because of the black aphids, but because it just got dehydrated. I missed the watering, I would say. But yeah, this rabbit's foot fern I had to treat maybe like 4 times. Again, I just used a solution of dish soap and isopropyl alcohol. Make sure to spray the entire plant, especially where the black aphids are, and just let it soak for like 5 minutes or so, and then hose it down. Yeah, I did that about 4 times. And finally, it got to a point where I was not seeing any more evidence of any black aphids. Even after a few weeks, I was not seeing anything. There were no specks of dust again underneath. So we were in the clear, or so I thought. Because this time, it wasn't black aphids this time, it was something else. But again, I wouldn't have known until I saw ants. The thing is, for me, I do have ants around here in my room, which I don't personally mind. I know maybe some of you might feel some type of way. You should have zero ants in your house. It's fine. For me, I do not mind seeing ants here and there, because for me, I notice that they like to harvest the extra floral nectaries, specifically of my philodendrons. Notably, my philodendron Florida green. I'll see ants on it every day. I'd also see them on my philodendron yopii. So yeah, I didn't really mind. But this time, I started seeing ants much more frequently and in places where they normally wouldn't be. Like, I'd see them so much more frequently on my desk, on my bed. Like when I would work on my laptop on my bed, I just find a stray ant walking on my laptop. And I'm like, how did it even get here? Like, they don't usually congregate around here. And it's not like it happened just once, like, it would happen every day. So, I at this point, I couldn't pinpoint the source, but I knew that there was something wrong because, okay, a bit of a tangent, but kind of related. When there's a lot of ants, now for me, I know that there is a problem, because not this summer, but the summer before that, summer of 23, I have this outdoor plant, my baby sunrose succulent, which got mealybugs. And I noticed that one day there were a lot of ants on my baby sunrose, and I saw them on top of the mealybugs. So I thought, okay, they're attacking the mealybugs. They are, protecting the plant. I'm just gonna let them do what they're doing. A few weeks passed by, and instead of the mealybugs disappearing, they actually exploded in numbers. And so did the ants. So I thought, what in the world is happening here? Like, they should be eliminating the mealybugs. But instead, it kind of like the opposite is what has happened. So I went online, researched what was happening, and I found out that ants will actually nurture mealybugs, because the mealybugs like secrete this like substance that is appetizing or whatever. The ants love it. Upon realizing that, I then manually intervened and treated my baby sunrose. It's doing okay now. No sign of mealybugs, no sign of ants. But yeah, back to my point, when there's a lot of ants, that's when there's a problem. So I couldn't pinpoint what the problem is, because I couldn't really see where ants were congregating a lot on. It wasn't until I had lifted my rabbit's foot fern from the cache pole that it was in that I saw a bunch of ants in there. And then it connected. I realized it's the rabbit's foot fern. There is something here. Mealybugs. I took a peek down the canopy and it was disgusting. It was not mealybugs. It was scale. This time it was scale, and I've never had scale before. It was all over the base of the fronds, of all the fronds of my rabbit's foot fern, and it was just game over for it. You know, like there was no way I was gonna be I was gonna be able to treat it effectively because scale is very hard to treat. And the fact that all the fronds were just affected, it was just enough for me. Like I just had to toss the plant away. So I guess technically this plant didn't die for me, but it died because I tossed it away. Because yeah, I mean, two infestations of two different insects, pests of the most severe level of infestation I've had on a single plant is just crazy. And I was not gonna take the risk of, trying to save it and then having it spread to my other plants. I was just, at that point, I was just like, it's gone. I'm sorry, I love you, but I have to do what's good for the entire family here. That was quite a roller coaster, don't you agree? But you think summer would eventually be over, right? And I would get back on my jive, film and make videos here, but I didn't. Well, after Hot Dry Summer and the Spider Mite Eras tour, there was a new performer in town. Maybe you've guessed it, but I can tell you that it was the baddest, meanest, smallest, dreaded, and despised Thrips.